Hi, I'm Igor Mateski. This is my story of how I started Webmax 4 months from a broken laptop and a $13 PDF.
Let's hop into the shoes of someone who's having to make decisions for their company that is growing regarding marketing. And I know you and I have talked about this fundamental question, functional question, and then a practical question. The fundamental question is, does marketing work? Functional for somebody making a decision for their company would be, does online marketing work? And then, finally, eventually, they would be faced with the question of what sort of agency would I hire to do my online marketing? So can you walk someone through that thought process?
Yeah, so the fundamental question, does marketing work? I don't think it's an option for a business to think in terms of, well, I do have research and development, and I do have sales, and I do have production, so maybe I don't need marketing. I think that kind of a thought process could be very harmful for the business because of competition. And if you don't do marketing, people will not hear about your brand, about your offer, about your selling proposition. And unfortunately, soon you may find yourself running an RD team, running a production team, running a sales team that's idling because nobody's calling. So the functional question of, does marketing work? It's a simple yes. It does work. And just the sheer marketing noise out there is evidence in itself that marketing does work. That's why so many people are doing it. The next question of, does online marketing work? I think it's also a functional question, actually a fundamental question, because online is where you do marketing. It's just not print, it's not TV, it's not face-to-face, it's just online. And online being the medium of communication. So if marketing works, then online marketing works as well. The key question there is, does my online marketing work? Because it really depends on who's doing the online marketing and how it's being done. And that kind of gets us into the last sub-question of, I think it was how
would they choose a marketing agency?
Right. Well, choosing the marketing agency is very important. I think it's more important, or as important at least, as your RD department and your sales department. An online marketing agency has to be focused on data. If they're not focused on data, you have a big problem. A data-driven marketing agency is always going to be looking at, okay, where are we as a company, as a team? What's the challenge that we're facing? Who we are, battling against in terms of online traffic? What are the messages that we want to communicate? To whom do we communicate these messages? And if the agency is not able to quantify these questions into numbers and saying, well, we are competing against this website that has X amount of web pages that are ranking very high, and we only have a handful of web pages that are trying to rank for that same keyword, but we are stuck on page 5. They don't really know what to do because there's no data for them to work with. So a marketing agency has to be data-driven. Otherwise, they're just doing guesswork, and guesswork is not good. It's not creating you the competitive edge that you need. Also, if it's not data-driven, it's going to be focused on best practices alone. And we all know that best practices don't really create competitive advantage. So you need something that's going to help your business be better at the same game that these 5 to 10 websites are playing and outranking you every single day of the year. The next, there are a lot of things to consider when you're choosing a good marketing agency. A second one for me would be ethics. I've had so many conversations with other marketers and other business owners, but it's more on the marketers side, especially single marketers, meaning one-man show, that say, oh, if you mention ethics, you should walk away from that company, because if they speak about ethics, they're probably not doing it. That's a deflection strategy, and it's practically the same as going to a doctor who's talking about health, and then saying you should walk away from that doctor because the doctor is talking about health. And it's like, what else is the doctor going to talk about than health? It has to be health, otherwise he's not a doctor. And for marketing agencies, ethics is a big issue. If ethics is not addressed properly, you will need a lot of document signing and a lot of huge contracts to protect you. A case in point is when a business has hired a marketing agency to do their web presence, where the sole measure is get me leads. The CEO doesn't care of all of the online assets that the marketing agency is going to create. And that's not good. The CEO needs to know what they're paying for. So it's not just the leads, it's about the system that's creating those leads. Part of that system is going to be a website, a lead generation oriented website. That website is going to have a lot of content on it, hopefully, so that it would be able to attract organic traffic. So as a CEO that's hiring this company, you are paying for the website, you are paying for the content, you are paying for the social media activity, you are paying for the emails that are created. And if you're working with an agency that's not ethical, and I have seen this happen with clients that got burnt, once you terminate the contract, all of those assets are owned by the marketing agency. So after a year or 2 or even 10 years of investing in or working with this one marketing agency, you get down to a ground zero level where you don't have a website, you don't have content, you don't have social media presence, you don't have email sequences, you have nothing. Because of bad ethics or lack of ethics, you found yourself in a hostage situation where you've basically armed your marketing agency with a lot of leverage over you, and that leverage is going to be used against you if the agency is not ethical about how they do stuff. And unfortunately, I have seen this more than once. And then the final question of how to find a good marketing agency is the obvious question. Is that really an agency? Or is that one person who's posing as an agency, who's saying, and we've seen this language over and over again, that we will do this and we will do that and we will do whatever. We have done this, we have done that, while in reality it's just one person. One maybe very tech-savvy person that does good design, that does good web building, that does good content production, that does good social, that does good email, that does good PPC, but it's just one person. And if your company is in a competitive niche, and by competitive niche, I mean a niche where at least 10 other people are competing for the same traffic, chances are you will not get good service, not because that person, one-man army guy is or girl is not going to be good enough. They just can't produce as much content and as much activity needed to outperform the rest. So choosing the marketing agency, as the third simple answer is going to be, are you really an agency? Or are you a single person who's doing everything by yourself? And that's a very simple answer to require. And if the person says, yes, we are an agency, but the About Us page is just the guy or the girl with their cat, it doesn't really speak volumes about the agency. Now, no disrespect to the single person workers, but it is a numbers game, and it requires a lot of work, and one person will not be able to do it.
Okay, so let me ask another question before we hop into that last question about choosing a digital marketer, and it's the issue of hiring talent within your company. Let's just say a growing company, the CEO or CMO or COO, whatever that C-level person is having to decide, do I go out there and try to find or recruit or hire marketing talent for the digital world, or do I outsource it? WebMax Performance is a consulting agency, and I know you guys can provide consulting for an in-house system, and you could also provide it as an outsourced service. So how do CEOs go about determining whether or not they want to hire talent or outsource for services?
Most of the CEOs would usually want to have control over each department. So the natural thing for a CEO would be to have a CMO, Chief Marketing, and that for that Chief Marketing to have their own department, which the company controls fully. I think nowadays it's not as clear cut. It used to be that if you hire an in-house team for marketing specifically, you would have a bigger control of the team, and you would therefore have a bigger output of the team. But in marketing, it doesn't really translate. You could have like a CMO, which is going to cost, I don't know, a few $100,000 a year. You could have a web developer and a designer, graphics designer. You would need a person that's going to provide the content, whether that's going to be for a blog post, or it's going to be for social media, or it's even could be video. But when you combine all these expenses, it really becomes expensive for a company to have an in-house team, even though it is a good practice. I mean, big companies have their own marketing teams.
So let me interrupt you, and I want you to keep going. We've discussed, like, even large companies will hire specific skill sets.
Yes.
Like you used the Peugeot example when we were in a conversation. Can you share that again? Maybe you can look at that.
Yeah. So that was almost 10 years ago, I think. They hired Pininfarina, a designer studio, to design their new 406, I think it was. They made a huge success. Sometimes the company needs this fresh perspective on stuff. Hiring a local or hiring somebody in-house to offer a fresh perspective is really not going to work, because it's really not a fresh perspective. Because when a new, let's see, in the case with Peugeot, if they hired a new designer, the new designer would try to fit in the company. So they would instantly lose that fresh perspective, because the single person coming into a company is going to try to adjust to that company, and they're not really going to offer freshness. With Peugeot hiring a third party to do the design, they basically allowed themselves to be freed from themselves, to have a different mode of thinking. So they made a big success because they had fresh ideas.
So bring this back around for us in the realm of digital marketing, and specifically, because it's your company, WebMax Performance, if someone is needing fresh ideas, how does that work?
Well, let's I'm going to talk about a specific client that we had. It's a big company in a form of what they're doing. So they're doing work with a lot of engineering and manufacturing companies. But they were stuck with their pay-per-click campaign, Google Ads. They were spending a lot of money. can't really disclose how much money, but a lot. The team that did the ads were even emotionally attached to their work, but that emotional attachment to the selection of keywords, to the selection of the copy that was on the landing page, the budget, the whole, the whole 9 yards, the whole details about it, prevented them from fine-tuning their pay-per-click. And when the manager, when the owner actually contacted me, he was like, here's what we're doing. Let's figure out a way to improve this. So the fresh perspective on our end was, okay, let's see what you guys are doing with the ad groups. Let's see what you guys are doing with the specific ads, and let's see what you guys are doing with the keywords. And what we found is that because of very small details in the campaign, they were spending 60% of their budget was just burnt.